Hey, good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. I'm your host, BKP. Different kind of Monday morning. Usually like to come in here on Monday ready to go, wide open. Love to get your Monday started off with everybody waking up. But it's a little different kind of Monday. Seems to be happening all too often. First of all, before we start the show, yes, there's elections tomorrow, and we've not forgotten. For some of you on Facebook that noticed, every morning we put up some of the main topics we'll be discussing in the morning. I know some in the world feels like everything surrounds a little town in North Georgia where there's an election tomorrow, but it doesn't. There's a lot of other things going on. But we are going to make sure we have enough time around 9:30, talk about the Hiawassee race for mayor, Blue Ridge City Council and mayor. We're going to make sure we do that. If you did not see that, you're probably wondering, well, tomorrow's election day, you're going to talk about it. We're going to highlight some things in those races about 9:30. But we open up this morning, 26 killed at the First Baptist Church in Sutherland Springs. Do we have that picture? 26 killed. That's the church. This gunman walked in. Sutherland Springs, Texas. A little town of 400. You know, I come on here all the time and I say we live in the never could happen here area. We tend to sometimes in our area in North Georgia feel it can never happen here. Gunman walked in, killed 26. I'm just trying to think of what that could possibly have been like sitting in worship and that happening. Anyhow, first and foremost, let's start with this. I spoke with, and you need to call your sheriff wherever you're at. Call your sheriff's office. I spoke with Gilmer County Sheriff Stacy Nicholson this morning. If you call the Gilmer County Sheriff's Office, if your church, no matter how small, calls the Gilmer County Sheriff's Office, okay, they will send deputies out to do a risk assessment of your church. I was told that this morning by the sheriff. I'm for sure that's got to be the same in Pickens and Fannin and Union and Towns. I'm for sure of that, okay? But the only sheriff I actually did speak with this morning is Sheriff Stacy Nicholson in Gilmer County. Let me just say to you, I understand. I'm reading all the social media where you're saying your risk assessment is somebody sitting in the church pew with a gun. Okay, fine. I'm fine. I'm okay with that. Your right to defend yourself, fine. But the only thing I'm asking you today is to think about, if you're a pastor or a deacon or whoever you are in your church, call your sheriff and get a risk assessment. They will do a risk assessment. They'll come out, look at your church, see all the areas that somebody can enter, where if you're going to have somebody do security. I will tell you this, I'm not going to mention the church, but I was involved in a risk assessment in a church about 4 years ago, to watch to see if somebody ever walked through the door while the service was going on. So I'm asking you to do that one more time. We'll mention that at 9 o'clock also, for those that tune in at 9. Now, how come the media, let me ask you this question, all right? Immediately you have elected officials, you have people that are saying Republicans caused this. All right. Immediately you have, mental health. We have the mental health issues in this country. Immediately, the discussion on semi-automatic weapons of war. It started immediately yesterday. Immediately. Republicans, weapons of war, semi-automatic, mental illness, who should have the right to get a gun, background checks, domestic history of domestic violence, and all of a sudden you have no rights at all. Everything started yesterday. Now, I'm not going to draw a conclusion, but how come we haven't talked about the shooter in the tents that maybe he's an atheist? Maybe he's an atheist. Maybe he is an atheist connected to the leftist group Antifa. Now, Snopes has already said, because obviously now that can't be true, because Snopes, a liberal-leaning group, already came out and said that's false. But I'm not making that accusation. I'm not saying that right now. I'm just saying, how come there's no discussion that the shooter may be an atheist connected to the leftist Antifa movement who supported Democrat candidates? How come that's not any of the narrative that's out there right now? Huh? How come? And was the Antifa movement, wasn't that this past weekend when they were going to protest in the streets and coast to coast? Just saying. Instead, it's mental illness. Republicans caused it. Must have something to do with semi-automatic weapons. America, don't get fooled. They're coming for your guns. And the only way they could do it is door to door. And I know you think that's outrageous. And I know you think it'll never happen. And I know you keep listening to these Democrat and these liberal, progressive to the left politicians say, I hunt too. I know they continue to tell you they're hunters. And I know they continue to say, I have no problem with a hunting rifle. They're going to come get your gun, and that's the only way they think they can stop this. I'm sorry, I know that's drastic. Okay, another thing we're going to be talking about this morning, why is Donna Brazile in fear as the DNC chair? Now, no media is talking about that this morning. No one's talking about that this morning. They're all talking about Texas, I understand. MSNBC is talking about Paul Manafort. I don't understand, but I understand what they're doing. They're running cover. No Donna Brazile this morning. Now, she went on George Stephanopoulos yesterday, and she said, I got this down here. I just want to pull it real fast. This is Donna Brazile. Put Donna Brazile's picture up. I think I have it there somewhere. Those that tell me to shut up can go to hell. That's Donna Brazile. Now, she is the former DNC chair. Don't get fooled out there, Republicans. Don't get fooled, the right, that this person has all of a sudden decided to tell the truth. Don't get fooled by that. Be careful with that. I know there's things she is saying that is encouraging. I know when she says about her book, she said yesterday, I'm from Louisiana. Okay? That's what she said. I put a little hot sauce on every page, okay? She put a little hot sauce on every page is what she said. Now, with Donna Brazile, how come there's not the point with any of these people anymore? How come they never say, hey, I don't feel safe. This is a crime. Maybe I should tell the police. But instead they say, no, get me my publicist. Get me somebody who wants to hear my story so I could sell a book. This woman said, and we're going to dig into this pretty deep today. This woman said she didn't feel safe in her DNC office. She would pull the blinds. She mentioned Seth Rich. She mentioned Seth Rich in her book. After the death of Seth Rich, the warning she got, the threat she got. Why didn't she feel safe? Why didn't she? Maybe she knows more than she's telling about Seth Rich. Now, folks, let me explain this, and we're going to get in this a little more. We're going to get into this more in the 9 o'clock hour. Deborah Wasserman Schultz, okay, put up, I think his name's Awan, Seth Rich, and Deborah Wasserman Schultz. Maybe we're starting to connect the dots here. Now, you'll wake up to hear Paul Manafort, and you'll hear that that Robert Mueller the special counsel has enough evidence to prosecute Michael Flynn and his son, Mikey Jr., okay? That's what you're going to hear on the front pages and all the noise this morning. You're not going to hear that Seth Rich, Awan, and Deborah Wasserman Schultz with Hillary Clinton and what we have found out about how she was running the DNC actually herself. The dots that may be connected. You remember Awan, Deborah Wasserman Schultz, IT guy? You remember the ghost employees that he would make as much as he could, and then there would be a family member start getting the checks, and then a family member start getting the checks? How come everybody has forgotten this story of corruption now that Donna Brazile has brought it out? Now, I spoke yesterday to former homicide detective Rod Wheeler. Okay? Former homicide detective Rod Wheeler was investigating the Seth Rich murder on behalf of the Rich family before he got a cease and desist order from them to stop. He told me yesterday the murder could be solved, and it was close to being solved, and that's all he could say when I spoke to him yesterday. That it could have been solved and still can be. He told me yesterday, watch what happens in the next couple of weeks now that Brazile's come out. And that how, when we were talking on the phone, Detective Wheeler and myself yesterday, we were talking about how Seth Rich is supposed to be taboo to the DNC. They're not supposed to mention it. But she did. And why did she? We also talked about why did Donna Brazile, now, Detective Wheeler and I talked about why did Donna Brazile feel unsafe in her office? Why did she? What threats caused her to feel unsafe in her office? What did she learn that caused her to feel unsafe in her office? We talked about that. But as Detective Wheeler said, watch the next couple weeks and see if Awan, the case there with Deborah Wasserman Schultz, IT guy. You remember Seth Rich was IT on the DNC. Okay? A lot of rumor they knew each other. But watch what happens in the next couple weeks. See, Donna Brazile, I don't want to hear about when Hillary Clinton fainted. Okay? I don't want to hear that about when Hillary Clinton fainted. You see, Tim Kaine, and people, you got to listen to me. Donna Brazile took over the DNC chair leadership, okay? But let's remember, Donna Brazile is professional at running interference and putting a gap. Tim Kaine was DNC chair from 2009 to 2011, okay? Tim Kaine, he was not done. He was not finished. But, okay, Hillary was not going to lose the nomination again. We find out the deal that was made. So Tim Kaine in 2011, Deborah Wasserman Schultz, a lot of people don't realize, Donna Brazile then became the DNC chair. Tim Kaine, Donna Brazile, don't fall for everything Donna Brazile's telling you. Tim Kaine, DNC chair, later becomes Hillary's running mate. I want to talk corruption. My God. Donna Brazile comes in just for the transfer. Just for the transfer from Kaine to Wasserman Schultz, just for that buffer. And then Deborah Wasserman Schultz comes in, and then when caught, Donna Brazile comes back in as the buffer between her and Tom Perez. Don't get caught off by that. Everybody thinks, well, not everybody, but a lot of people think that, you know what? Tim Kaine went straight to Deborah Wasserman Schultz as DNC chair. No, Donna Brazile had a brief buffer there. Deborah Wasserman Schultz previously served, okay, was the national co-chair. See, Deborah Wasserman Schultz was the national co-chair for Hillary Clinton's unsuccessful 2008 run against Barack Obama. Unsuccessful, okay? Wasserman Schultz was elected chairperson of the Democrat National Committee in 2011, replacing Virginia Senator Tim Kaine. On July 24, 2016, Wasserman Schultz announced her resignation from her position after WikiLeaks released collection of hacked emails. I'm telling you right now, she was former DNC co-chair for Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton put Wasserman Schultz in place. They made the deal with the DNC. Hillary Clinton, don't think in 2015 is when Hillary Clinton started running the DNC. Don't think that for 1 minute. Hillary Clinton knew all along that nothing could go wrong, and Wasserman Schultz got the job. Hillary Clinton started running that DNC way before 2015. Don't forget it. And Tim Kaine had a deal. Now, I understand Awan. Why is Seth Rich? Put up, do I have Seth's picture? Okay, this is what they should be investigating. DNC, the payment of the dossier, the payment of the dossier by the DNC, Hillary Clinton, Deborah Wasserman Schultz, Awan. I got one of Awan and Bill Clinton. Is there one in there of him and Bill? Deborah Wasserman Schultz, IT guy. You remember Deborah Wasserman Schultz went to the... All right, put them all three. Remember Deborah Wasserman Schultz went, when Awan was arrested, okay? Remember she went and threatened the Capitol DC police chief. And he didn't play that game. She said, we have control over your budget. Remember that? So what did they find out? We're going to go more into that after. Okay, after 9 o'clock. We'll do some more on that, all right? Maybe a second segment or something, but let's start there. Before we get to 8:30, we're going to have our Monday morning quarterback, Pickens Dragons. I put the hat up here today. We got the drag. Oh, you can't see it because it's green. I'm sorry, didn't think about that. But the Pickens Dragons, you can read it. Okay. The Pickens Dragons are in a three-way playoff for third and fourth place, Quad A, Region 6. So R.J. Casey's going to be with us at 8:30 to explain that play-in game tonight. That's tonight. He's going to explain that. And then also Jason Banks is going to be with us. The Mountain Football League, Super Bowl was this past weekend with the youth football. He is going to talk about that, and we're going to talk a little bit about high school football. That's at 8:30, Monday morning quarterback. Now, you're going to hear all morning long Paul Manafort, okay? You keep hearing Paul Manafort, okay? Put the picture of Paul Manafort up. Paul Manafort was hired by the Trump campaign, all right? And he was hired by the Trump campaign. They needed somebody to do, the greasy work. I know what you're saying here. Well, wait a minute. The other side is the real corruption. But they needed the guy to do the negotiating, the greasy stuff on the floor of the convention. Now, leading up to the Republican convention, you had more news reports by MSNBC, CBS, ABC, all the above, CNN. I have to stop calling those news reports. But you had more reports of this possibly being a brokered convention. A brokered convention. That's all you kept hearing, okay? This could be a brokered convention. Cruz's delegates could break. Trump's delegates could break and go for Cruz. They were counting. The Never Trump was working within the Cruz campaign. There was discussion that Ted Cruz's campaign was working a deal with Trump delegates. All of this you heard daily. Don't forget, folks, we didn't forget. Okay? You heard this daily. So they called what is perceived one of the best guys in the business. Okay? Now, that was Paul Manafort. And Paul Manafort was sent the last couple months. He was there a short period of time, just enough to get things straightened out at the convention. Now go to Reagan Ford, this picture here. Okay, folks, you may not remember this, but this should be 1976. And that's Ronald Reagan, and in the background you're going to see that's Gerald Ford. That was a brokered convention. Now, in 1976 brokered convention for Gerald Ford, Ronald Reagan was ready to take the convention, the nomination, from a sitting president. Who did Ford call in to work the delegates? Paul Manafort. Paul Manafort. Go to the picture of Gerald Ford. Just says Gerald Ford. I just want to tell you a couple things. There's Gerald Ford. There's Rockefeller, Nelson III Rockefeller, one of the Rockefellers. If you don't remember, just real brief in history, Nelson Rockefeller III, the 5th, the 20th, I don't care. Nelson Rockefeller, his vice president at this time. And there's Gerald Ford at the convention, accepting the nomination from a brokered convention that Paul Manafort worked. Paul Manafort worked briefly for Ronald Reagan, worked briefly for Bob Dole. He had a resume of working the convention floor. He had a resume of getting the delegates needed to get the candidate over the top and work it. That's the only reason Donald Trump did not have anything to do with what Paul Manafort has done with foreign countries and whatever that may be. So I just wanted to put that little bit of history out there because every day all you're going to hear is Paul Manafort, Paul Manafort, Paul Manafort, okay? Papadopoulos was a guy that got to go to the table. Trump meets all day long, 7 days a week. He's meeting with somebody, okay? Did he know Papadopoulos? Yes. Was he real close with Papadopoulos? No. Did somebody tell him that, hey, let's sound strong? Now, this is my prediction. Did somebody tell Trump, hey, let's start sounding as though we understand our foreign policy, we understand foreign gas and oil and all that. Let's start sounding. So Trump says one day, hey, this guy Papadopoulos has got a good background in energy and foreign energy business, and he brings a little bit to the table. Yeah, okay, that's all that is. By the way, folks, whether you realize it or not, it's not against the law to do business in Russia. It's not against the law to do business with the Russians. There are formalities and things you have to fill out and things you have to be transparent about to do it, but it's not against the law. It's not against the law as a candidate to talk to foreign governments. Not against the law. Not against the law to get on the plane. You do your own research. For Barack Obama, Bob Dole, Mitt Romney, John McCain, I know he was a sitting senator, but at that time, you do your own research of how many candidates spoke with foreign heads of state. It's not against the law. They keep putting the news cycle up as though some law has been broken that Trump spoke to a Russian. And we're not going to go into that all morning. Now you have news reports, okay? News reports that Michael Flynn and Little Mike, put Michael Flynn up, former NSA director, national security advisor to Trump. Not that one, I'm sorry, it just says Flynn. What's that? Go ahead, put that back up, because that says, I think that says, I can't.
Enough evidence to bring charges in Flynn investigation.
Yeah, Mueller has enough charges. Now put up Mike Flynn and Little Mike. Okay. Now this one here, okay, that's his son, Michael Jr. That's Michael, former NSA advisor to the President of the United States. There may be things that they did. Maybe they didn't fill out all the paperwork. Maybe. But don't forget, all right? The DNC, John Podesta, and whether you like it or not, and no matter how mad you get, Michael Flynn Jr. tweeted out Pizzagate, and Michael Flynn retweeted it. Never forget the takedown. If you're confused this morning and you don't think the corruption from WikiLeaks, you don't think that this corruption is so bad, you got Donna Brazile, Deborah Wasserman Schultz, is so bad that they have to run cover with Paul Manafort and his foreign connection and Paul Manafort and Michael Flynn and Papadopoulos, that pales in comparison to the evil ones. Don't forget, Michael Flynn retweeted Pizzagate. You're going to say, it can't be that simple. Yes, it is. I'm telling you it is, because I know why they're going after him. I know exactly why they're going after him. Don't forget. Now, let me ask you this. Are you hearing about Facebook and Twitter? I'm almost done here, okay? You're hearing about Facebook and Twitter, all right, this morning. We're going to talk about that more at 9 o'clock. I can't read what that says right there because I can't see it from here. Could you read what it says on that screen underneath them, Sam?
Russia funded Facebook and Twitter investments through Kushner Associate.
Read it one more time, just for me, okay? Slow.
Russia funded Facebook and Twitter investments through Kushner Associate.
Russia funded Facebook and Twitter investments through Kushner Associate. Well, there's a smoking gun, right? Folks, they will tell you, and they started that on MSNBC this morning, okay, of how the Putin money has about 5% of Twitter. Putin money. That's what I hear. Putin money, 5% of Twitter. It's interesting, they never researched Saudi money. The Saudi prince now owns more of Twitter than Jack Dorsey does. Okay, I can't pronounce these guys' names, all right? Saudi prince has increased his holding in Twitter, making him the company's second largest shareholder. Prince, whatever, bin whatever. He's been 5 times. Who in 2011 invested $300 million in the social network, now owns 34.9 million shares of Twitter common stock. At nearly 5.2%, his stake in the company is now larger than that of Jack Dorsey, Twitter's co-founder and newly reminted CEO. So this guy owns more than the original CEO of Twitter from Saudi, but you're listening to news reports all day long of how Kushner, okay, how Russian-funded Facebook and Twitter investments through Kushner Associate. Kushner, who's the associate? Folks, please stop falling for this. I'm your host, BKP. Good morning from the office, North Georgia's only live online morning show. Let me say this before we go to break and we start our segment on Monday Morning Quarterback. Let me say this, okay? You can get your church risk assessment, and I'm going to advise you to do it. I know what you're saying. I've already noticed several of you on social media saying our risk assessment is to, have our guns ready when somebody walks through the door. Look, I spoke to Gilmer Sheriff Stacy Nicholson. He can't speak for the others, but he assured me if you call your sheriff's department today, especially in Gilmer County, they will send somebody out to your church to do a risk assessment. So I'm your host, BKP. Let's take a break, and then we'll go to Monday Morning Quarterback. Sam, take us to break.